Well, is it in second?
There's a second.
Yes.
Well, I think you should vote and see what happens.
But I just, so do I. I understand that, but I'm asking for legal opinion on if we say no, can we then make a motion to grant a hearing to allow them to apply again? Is there time period?
You can make motions anytime.
No, but if
If you deny, I understand exactly.
I want to, that's,
If as a practical matter, if the motion to grant it fails, then in my opinion, they'd be entitled to hearings,
Regardless of whether we
regardless of whatever else happens.
okay, so then the next, can we then make a motion to do a hearing? Or are they just entitled and they come back next
They raise the
Yeah,
agenda?
I mean, you can if you want to, if you want the record to reflect that, but as a practical matter, even if you don't, my recommendation would be to do a hearing.
Okay,
Right, because it's by statute, there's a sense of property owner.
okay. I just don't like how that is, I'm going to state it for the record, that if that's the way we're being advised, I'm uncomfortable with it, because I don't want to deny the liquor license. I want to hear more information to make a determination. So if our trustees aren't willing to let us do that first, and at least try to, and there's no other way to do it, then,
Well, you'll end up at the exact same place.
Okay.
Because you're not denying it.
please note that.
You're granting, it's still subject to the hearing. You're not granting everything. But the problem is, they renew on July 1st, so my recommendation would be to put it on the next hearing, decide whether or not this evidence here or anything else constitutes use or non-use, and then vote accordingly.
And open to the public, right, as you had mentioned.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay, so with that, do you have any other board member have questions on that? If not, one more question from.
Last question, I don't think it asks questions of village attorney, but if we do not get renewed today and we have an event in July, do we have to cancel that, or how does that work?
Not sell liquor, is that what you're saying?
Beer, wine, or liquor? I mean, we can get a temporary for beer or wine, but if they're,
Yeah.
Well, it's not officially revoked until the hearing.
But it's lapsed.
but if it's lapsed for us, and can we still, that would be my question, I just don't know.
The presumption is it's renewed.
I'm sorry?
I would say the presumption is, because it's a property right, we would still have the right, right, constructively, until it's finally denied.
It is clearly under the statute, it is not revoked or an unrenewed or non-renewed until hearing takes place where the applicant has the due process right. So it would essentially stay the decision on that until the hearing. So my opinion would be that we would be allowed to have the event.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. So it fails. So, does anyone want to make another motion?
Do we need for the record to record the vote?
I can pass the gavel if no one else wants to make a motion. Do we have to make a motion, or we just go to hearing?
Well, no.
Sorry,
My
yeah.
recommendation is because it was the vote to renew failed, that nothing else, it can't be revoked unless they're granted a hearing. So rather than saying, well, let's come back when we have 7 members, so we have a high vote, and then getting a hearing after that, if it goes the other way, as private matter, you have the same individuals voting, whether they're granted or not. So out of respect for the process and the applicant, I think, to speed that process along, our recommendation would be based upon the way I read chapter 125 is to inform the applicant that a hearing will take place because the motion failed, and give them notice of that, and publish it pursuant to the statute. See what happens.
Okay, so no motion is necessary. All right. Thank you. Rebecca, they will be receiving a letter from Sarah from the clerk, following up on, as you requested, in normal procedure. Is that it? Or do you do anything else? Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks for letting us,
Look forward to seeing
thank you.
soon.
Thanks for letting us contribute to the discussion.
Thank you.
So long.
Okay, so I apologize for the rain. our next agenda item is, I'm sorry. There's a public hearing. There are none today, so seeing that, we'll move on to citizens to be heard. Is there anyone in the public that would like to be heard on a non-agenda item? Yes, Mr. Jordan.
No.
No?
Yeah. Andrew Fry, 3613 North Morris. I just wanted to come up here and thank you guys for approving special event permits like the criterion. I don't know if you guys got to talk to anybody who was involved in it, but yeah, it shows what the village is all about, and I enjoy it. The reason I live here is because 11 or 12 years ago, I came here to race, and now I live here. I've only lived here for 2 years, but it was 9 years later that I ended up coming back here in Milwaukee and then living in Shorewood. So I just want to thank you guys for those special events, and hopefully you can continue to do some more. I know there's one planned for the World Cup game and that kind of stuff. So yeah, just thanks for doing this.
Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for staying.
Well, this is a natural segue, so I'm just going to put it out there. I appreciate these comments because I completely agree, and this is the second year in a row, well, not consecutive, I couldn't do it last year, but I hosted a cycling team for the whole Tour of America's Dairyland, and just these kind of events are not only just good for Shorewood, but the region. So anyway.
But and continue with that, I do think that the teams that get hosted in Shorewood are definitely happy that they're hosted in Shorewood. Like, they'll let you know that if you talk to them. Like,
I didn't want to bring their expensive equipment in the house or lock it in the garage because they were leaving it outside. Very, very delighted with it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so is there any other citizens to be heard today on non-agenda items? No, seeing that, we're going to go to new business. That will be consideration of the 2019 annual vision prioritization items. Prioritization for 2019, Lindsay Schmidt, our facilitator.
Good evening. Taking us way back. Before we begin, I just want to reflect a little bit based on our last conversation on June 25th. Just last week, Monday, a week from today. And my voice gets really deep when it's past 9:30, so just
that
you know, yes, it's still me. So just a quick recap, I'll make it really quick, but during that discussion, we talked and started building some consensus around the large initiatives, those bucketed as large. We talked through what that means, what our goal was in prioritization in terms of initiatives that we feel should move forward for 2019 and prioritize as such. Again, the order in which, not necessarily the rest go away, but those we feel need to begin and in what order they begin. Again, with the medium items and then the small. So the goal for today, there was some consensus building. I did start to bucket those items for you. So I want to talk through the handout you have in front of you, and that was published first. But before we do that, the goal for today is really to identify the top 1 and 2 items in that order from the large, medium, and small categories. And then in addition, after the 1 and 2, if there's some order in which we can arrive at the others, assuming we get through those and have deep focus, can we start to prioritize the ones below that? But the first focus will be those 1 and 2 items for large, medium, and small.
Can I ask a clarifying question? I'm sure probably other members might have the same question, but what are we trying to get to? Because I just need clarity. I know Trustee Carpenter asked some questions about, capital projects last time, and I haven't got a clear answer yet. So are we formulating our legislative agenda, or are we authorizing budget, not authorizing, but saying we're going to move forward if it's in our first and second into budget, and we're going to fully fund, we're going to fund it, and possibly not the other ones that are in that capital budget. And maybe, Rebecca, you want to share what your goal is out of this? My goal is different than I think what the administration's goal is. So I just want to make sure we are clear on what we're being asked to do and what the outcome of that ranking of 1 and 2 in each of those large, medium, small means for the rest.
My goal is simple. I'd like the board to prioritize the items of which we
work on. So that can start as simple now as prioritizing the things that you believe are most important and then developing work plans for those. We need to get, as a board, there needs to be prioritized direction so that the staff is working based upon the board's direction. And that at times being inefficient by not working in a prioritized direction.
So let me clarify. When I asked that question, I'm not comfortable prioritizing a capital project right now because I have not weighted against the rest of our finances. I'm comfortable personally giving a policy direction of the things that we feel, other than those standard capital items that we're going to talk about in a month, less than a month. So saying that, I also am comfortable that we've talked about all of the initiatives and that I know that we're not on the same page of what's small, medium, and large. And so if I have 3 in one category and not in another, like if 3 are in large and 2 are in medium, and I think one of those should be in medium, now all of a sudden I'm not giving you, I feel like I'm not giving my 1 of 7 opinion on policy direction because of that. And the last point I just want to make is I had requested at the beginning of the process, before we had our first meeting, that before we vote, if we're going to vote on prioritization for the administration to work on, that we be involved and educated as well with, here's what we think are priorities, but since we're not assigning them to committees and we're not balancing that, and we don't have any hour input, like we weren't given originally planning department, our planning director has this many hours, and then we can make a policy agenda based on that for the following year. My concern is we're going to adopt something without, like, we're not just handing you 20 projects and you coming back and saying, based on these 20, these are the ones we could achieve, and letting us switch them out. We're adopting something, and then you're going to go and say what you think we can achieve and not. So I've been concerned about that since day one, that I don't feel I have enough information. I don't want to just turn it over and say, well, here's what we voted on, but we don't know what that means in terms of staff. I would pick something different if I knew, the administration came back after a week and said, well, based on the ones you guys picked, we can only really achieve this because of man hours. I would switch them out. My choices would change. So that's always been my concern. So those are the ones that remain, that are outstanding. Trustee Manta.
My concern is there's nothing related to budget on here, our budget process, and that I think has to be all of our priority. It's one of the most important things that we do as trustees of this organization. So I guess the winnowing process, things have sort of fallen out, and I'm not, I think that's one thing that fell out that really shouldn't have fallen out. And then also in terms of the Conservation Committee and environmental issues, we really have, I think, just one. And that kind of surprised me also because I think all of us would probably say we're environmentalists, and that's a very central value to Shorewood. So I guess I'm looking at these that we're supposed to be choosing from, and I've seen some that don't seem to have made the list. And I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but I think it's something we might want to talk about and address.
Could I mention one thing? You did talk about the budget as being an important thing. I didn't see that as an item submitted, like as an actual initiative to be prioritized. That was a policy conversation that took place around stewards of the budget. So I'm looking back, wondering, did it fall? Where is it? I just didn't see it as an initiative.
There were 2, just so you know, the capital planning, which we've talked about for a long time. I don't know if we had enough, that's a whole new process, and it's been brought up many times.
Right.
So it's a complicated one. If you're not familiar with the capital project or budget, you might not find, it's very hard to read, 4 sentences and know it. But the second one was I think I clarified, the one I submitted was the budget committee. And I think the last meeting I said it doesn't have to be a budget ad hoc committee, it can be workshops. It
But
just,
that one is on here.
That one is on
that
here.
is, I just want to clarify that. If someone doesn't want to vote for it because it's just the way it was worded, I think it's important that we have some initiative where we talk about shared services or consult, there's some way to continue that dialogue throughout the year. And I know we do every time an issue comes forward and we need to vote on certain things, and we do it during long-range planning and budgeting, but the initiative, the meat of it was, we have more of those discussions throughout the year. More global things that we don't get to in a meeting.
So, what Trustee meant, I think that he's talking about this discussion on our upcoming